The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the Cruiser Customizing and Biker's Choice webinar. We're going to be talking about a step-by-step guide to wiring and lighting for your motorcycles. This is a co-branded webinar. Once again, Biker's Choice and Cruiser Customizing. Biker's Choice has been around since 1971 in handling everyone's Harley-Davidson needs, and they are a sister company there with Takaraki. Actually a sibling of Takaraki, I should say, and Bike Master would be the metric side of that brand. My name's Kyle Bradshaw. I've been with Cruiser Customizing about 10 years. We've been doing this webinar type format for about a year now, and with me as another presenter is Aaron Whitney from Biker's Choice. Welcome to the webinar, Whitney, and or Aaron, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Kyle.
If you could give us just a quick rundown of your role there at Biker's Choice and kind of your history with motorcycling, that'd be great.
Okay, I am the product specialist for Biker's Choice. I'm actually new with, or relatively new with Biker's Choice. Prior to that, I was the R&D manager for D&D Exhaust, and before that, the West Coast Tech representative for S&S Cycle. I've been in the industry about 20 years now. Started off just in dealerships as a line mechanic and worked up from there.
Fantastic. In California, we have Eric Garrison. He's behind the scenes. He's going to be helping us with all of the miscellaneous questions you guys might have. If you've got a technical glitch going on with your webinar, reach out to him via the chat, and he can definitely help you out. Eric, thanks for being the director of this webinar for us tonight. We appreciate it.
Definitely. Glad to be here.
You want to give a quick synopsis of your role with Cruiser and kind of what you do on a daily basis?
Sure. So I manage the UI on the website, all the promotions, all the emails that you see, all the kind of behind the scenes, even on the ongoing communications, as well as our internet advertising.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. We really appreciate it. So throughout this webinar, you're going to see poll questions such as this right here. Eric, if you could go ahead and pop the question, that'd be fantastic. What's going to happen here is these poll questions are going to give us an idea of kind of who the audience is and kind of what you guys, what products we could lean you towards or conversations we can have that will be a little more engaging for you as it'll be more beneficial to your style of riding. So this first question here is, what do you ride? Whether it's a Harley-Davidson, Metric, Victory, Triumph, Goldwing. I guess you should probably put an other tab on here, just in case someone's riding some little infield or something. So just so you guys get a background, I've got a Honda VTX as my metric, and then I've got quite a few other bikes in the garage that kind of cross the genre. Aaron, what bikes do you ride?
Currently, I have two BMW GS's, a 95 and an 85, and a 03 Dyna Wide Glide.
Fantastic. So you kind of understand quite a bit the metric and the American.
Yeah. Plus, my kids have some dirt bikes too, so I've been around all of them over the years.
Fantastic. What's the poll looking like, Eric? Eric, you there with us?
Yeah, sorry about that. So far, we're at 24% Harley, 72% Metric, 4% Victory, and 6% Goldwing. Would you like me to share the results?
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great.
Okay. Hold on a second.
All right, we should just have to close that poll out and then show the results.
Hold on a second. Sorry, guys.
So as far as Harley-Davidsons go there, Aaron, what are some of the key tips and tricks that you've learned over the years about wiring Harley-Davidsons?
Well, and this goes with anything electrical. Always start with the simplest thing first. Always check the battery and check your battery cables first. Most of the time you'll find your problems in a bad ground or a loose connection or sometimes even a bad battery.
Gotcha. Good, definitely a good tip for sure. All right, there up on the screen, you're going to see the 25% Harley, 72% metric, the numbers that Eric has read off. Go ahead and close that down for us, Eric. That'd be fantastic.
Yes. Give me 1 second. There you go.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So today we're going to have a little bit of an introduction here. We're going to talk about the general discussion about motorcycle electronic systems, charging systems, electrical wiring. We're going to walk you through some examples of turn signal wiring, headlights, taillights, and then we've got a pretty awesome giveaway for you guys at the end. Biker's Choice has donated some battery chargers that we're going to be giving away at the end, so it's pretty fantastic. And then one of you is going to get to win a $300 shopping spree, which is also a fantastic gift. So, again, big shout out to Biker's Choice for helping us out with this. So, why aftermarket lighting? Why is that something important that we need to do on our motorcycles? And I guess really it broke it down most simply. We've got these 4 options here: to be seen, to see better out there, to lower the electrical load on your motorcycle, better looks and weight savings. What are some other features of lighting that you could think of, Aaron?
Well, that pretty well covers the most of it. Usually, in my experience, what I've seen is, you know, you look at something like turn signals, the stuff that comes from the factory, they're usually pretty big and bulky. A lot of guys like to slim it down a little bit. You know, put some small custom lights on it. The other thing is also, you know, what you said there, see and be seen. And this, I think, applies a lot more on older bikes or used bikes. And, you know, even some of the new ones. For a guy that, you know, that rides at night a lot, especially if you don't ride in the city, anything you can do to see the sides of the road, see farther ahead, you know, safety is always an important factor there.
Yeah, one of the biggest fears I guess I have of riding around at nighttime would be the fact that most motorcycles have only a single rear tail light, and it's not very bright. So the more you can do to light up the rear of your bike, the safer you're going to be out there for sure. So just to get an idea of kind of where you guys sit and what you guys are currently running so we can most appropriately talk to you. Eric, if you could pop this poll question, that'd be fantastic. We're now going to ask you whether you're running stock, whether you have just upgraded bulbs inside your housings, if you're running a traditional light bar, or if you've got totally customized lighting. So we'll keep this up here for just 30 seconds or so and then close it out. And then we'll get into the meat of the seminar here. All right. So real quick, just as a gambling type of scenario here, Aaron, what do you think we're going to see as far as the highest percentage?
I'm thinking you're going to see customized lighting. You know, I see a lot of bikes out there that I've seen before with turn signals and, you know, added on brake lights. You know, if a guy adds a tour pack, a lot of times they're lighted up also. I think we'll see completely customized.
Be awesome. I think we're going to see the majority is going to be OEM or stock lighting, and then traditional aftermarket light bar is going to be number 2. Eric, if you go ahead and close this down and show the results, that'd be fantastic.
You got it.
No, interesting. So the majority is definitely OEM, and then we've got upgraded bulbs and aftermarket light bar for the tie. Okay. If you could release that for us, that'd be great. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on. This is the basically wiring diagram of an electrical system here for a motorcycle. As you're going to see, we have the headlight over to the left. We've got tail light to the right. and basically the battery is at the heart of the entire system. Now, the one thing I really like to point out here is we boil this down to the most basic you can possibly get. You basically have ground wires and power wires. Now, there's going to be flasher buttons and switches and stuff like that that will be throughout the mix, but for the most part, you have those two types of wires. When it comes to the motorcycle charging system, you're going to have a battery. At the upper right there is going to be a stator, and to the lower left, or lower right there, you've got a regulator rectifier. These all work in conjunction. So the battery is going to have your power. It's going to be able to allow the bike to start. That's then going to fire the motor. The motor's going to run. The stator's going to spin and then send power to the regulator rectifier, which is then going to regulate that power. And each surges in the system is going to take those out and give your battery the exact amount of power that it needs. What type of examples or history do you have with this, Aaron?
Well, I mean, it's the same for every bike. There'll be different configurations, you know, depending on whether it's Harley or metric or what it is. But yeah, essentially they're all exactly the same. You got a magnet that spins around on that rotor, sends power to the regulator. Anything other than, or any excess power, the regulator sends directly to ground and sends the rest of it to the battery to keep the battery completely charged. Once again, like I was saying at the beginning, condition of battery is everything. If the battery's not operating the way it's supposed to be, if it's, you know, if it's a maintenance-free battery, some of the things I've seen go wrong is a broken plate or you know, a ground on the inside of it. The older batteries, you got to make sure they're topped off with water. All of this is essential to maintaining a good charging system.
Perfect. Thank you for the help on that one there. So moving right along. I'm getting quite a bit of feedback here. You guys getting that same thing?
I'm not.
Yeah, I heard the feedback as well.
Okay. So here in front of us, we now have the motorcycle wiring components. And with these components, you're basically going to have a fuse block, which is going to allow all of the wires on your motorcycle to come to a standard place, and then from that place the battery plugs into that, and then you can take each of those wires off and have individual circuits that are fused, which is definitely going to protect your system from any damage. So moving on to motorcycle turn signals. Most turn signals have either 2 or 3 wires in them. Sorry guys, I'm just reading some messages here coming through. I guess I could do that. Let me, I guess we're getting quite a bit of feedback for you guys there on the other end. So let me go ahead and dial in real quick and see what we can do in order to rectify this audio situation. I'm not having that here. Okay. There we go. So we've got 2 wires and 3 wires. The 2 wires are going to be the turn signal and the ground wire. And the 3 wires is going to be turn signal, running light, ground wire. Now, Aaron, as far as the typical Harley-Davidson, what are you normally seeing front and rear?
Front is usually a turn signal and running light. The rears are usually just turn signals. I know there are people that convert them, where you can have rear running lights, and you can also hook them into the brake light also. But from the factory, you usually see running lights up front, no running lights in the back.
Yeah, and that's the same thing we're seeing in most of the metrics. Most of the metrics are doing just turn signals in the rear there. So yeah, basically how these wire up is pretty simple. We'll go to the next one here. When you purchase aftermarket turn signals, you're going to have single wire, 2-wire, and 3-wire setups. What's going to happen here is most of the single wires are actually 2 wires if you look at the back of the bulb. One's grounded to the housing, and then the one that comes out here is going to be the power wire. The ground, again, or the lights themselves have to attach to the metal on your motorcycle frame, allowing that to have the ground that it needs. The 2-wire system, once again, it can be wired up as either a running light, or it can be wired up as a turn signal, but not both because it's a single circuit. And then if you're looking for that turn signal, running light, and ground, you're going to need a 3-wire setup unless you go with, say, a run turn controller, which will allow you to take a single unit and push that forward.
Something to note on that, Kyle, the single wire bulbs, or the single wire turn signals. Yeah. When you hook them up, be careful where you put them. Make sure that the body has a good quality ground to it. Sometimes with, say, putting them on triple trees or on the front of the forks, sometimes you have to run an auxiliary ground on those. They won't always ground real well through the steering neck. So if you get them and you put them on there and they don't work immediately, run a jumper directly to ground and see if that's not the case.
Yeah, I've had that same experience. So on the VTX that I was modifying, I was adding my own auxiliary driving lights. And when I put the Kuryakyn silver bullets onto, say, the stock light bar, that light bar was actually insulated with rubber grommets.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me quite a while to figure out that I wasn't getting the ground I needed to touch those grommets that were invisible, per se. But once I was able to run a ground wire specifically to alleviate that situation, that totally cleared up and it was golden. So moving forward here just a little bit, there's a couple different ways that you can wire these things up. And these 2 diagrams here, as if you notice the stock harness in these diagrams have 3 wires on the left side. On the right-hand side, that would be a 3-wire system as well. But what the end user wanted to do was to get a brighter flash with no running light out of that that particular setup. So once again, we've got ground, we've got run, we've got turn, and this is a typical 3-wire setup. When you're running 3 wires in the aftermarket unit to a 2-wire harness, so say a harness that is a turn signal only, what you're going to do is wire it up this way. What this is going to do, this is going to allow you to be able to have that unit function as a turn signal, and that running light will just tap in there at the same place, and then you won't have that extra wire hanging out. 2-wire turn signals are super simple. Once again, you have a positive, ground, you just wire those up, and you're golden. And then we talked about this already, but this is the Kuryakyn silver bullet, and it, of course, grounds to the frame, and then the 1 wire coming out is the power wire. Now, one very important thing we want to talk about real quick is a load equalizer if you're installing LED turn signals. When you use an LED turn signal, the LED unit does not draw as much power as, say, an incandescent or a halogen bulb. What then your motorcycle is going to think is there's a burned out bulb at the end of that line. By wiring a load equalizer into your system, the load equalizer itself is going to pull that amount of power to allow your motorcycle to believe or to know that your bulb is not burned out. What kind of experience have you had with load equalizers, Aaron?
They work really well. I've had real good luck in the past with them, especially for the guy that wants to put small turn signals on or LEDs. Again, you know, even if they just wanted to do 2 of them at a time, that way, you know, you could do the back or just the front or both or whatever they wanted to do. It's a great product. They work real well.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd like to point out real quick is that load equalizers are not all created equal. There's 2-amp load equalizers, there's 4-amp load equalizers, there's load equalizers that plug directly into your factory wire harness depending on the motorcycle that you ride. There's some that have been developed specifically to work with factory alarm systems. So there's lots of different load equalizers out there, so before you just grab one and throw it on your bike, make sure you're getting the proper one for your motorcycle. In the picture here on the screen, you can see a standard load equalizer on the left, and then a plug-and-play model-specific unit on the right. How do these things wire up? It's really pretty simple. What's going to happen is you're going to have 2 of the same color wires coming out of one side of the load equalizer, and then you're going to have a ground wire on the other. So you can see on this diagram here, or this picture, there's 2 purple and 1 black. And on this one here, we've got 2 yellow and 1 black. Those are each of the yellow or purple wires, if you will, are going to run down. One's going to go to the left turn, one's going to go to the right turn, and then you've got the ground. And that's really all there is when it goes to wiring in a load equalizer. Okay, now talking about your headlight, moving from turn signals to headlights. Hey, really quick, Aaron, are you using a headset or using your laptop?
I'm using my laptop.
Okay.
I can
get
get it.
I'm getting some feedback when I'm speaking, so that might be your speakers that are then broadcasting into the microphone.
Okay, hang on just a second. I'll grab some headphones.
It's okay. If you could just lower down the volume just a little bit, that might fix it. All right, while he's doing that, upgrading your headlight, you've got 3 basic options. You've got the option of just replacing your headlight bulb, swapping out the whole headlight for a headlight bucket, and then you can upgrade the entire system to going with, like, say, an HID or an LED type scenario. Now, when you upgrade your headlight bulb, there's a couple things to take a look at. Well, number one, it's as long as you get the correct headlight bulb, swapping that out is pretty darn simple. You just have to be able to get into the housing, replace the old one with the new one. Now, why would you want to upgrade the headlight bulb? In this particular example, we're looking at a PIA headlight, and this takes your stock 50 or 65, 55 watt bulb, and what you're going to get out of that, it's going to have the same rating as your stock bulb, but it's going to give you the light output of 110 to 100 watt. It's absolutely phenomenal. And the color temp is going to be up at 4,000 Kelvin, which is significantly, at least 3 to 5 times brighter than your stock headlight bulbs. Aaron, you back? I guess he's not back yet. So let's move on here. When you upgrade your headlight bucket, this is something you can do to get an extremely custom look on your motorcycle and make your bike look different than any other bikes of your make and model that are out there. So you can definitely get a new look. Depending on the bulb, you can modify the pattern of the light distribution, which can be great depending on what your stock bulb is like. It can be bolt on, and the interior bulb, so the bulb inside this housing, is usually upgradable with the same type of headlight upgrade that we just talked about. So it's a way to get something that looks really good on your bike and dramatically increase your light flow. Now, when you're doing headlight wiring, there's 3 wires, so very similar to a turn signal. You're going to have a ground wire, a high beam, and a low beam. You're going to want to make sure you stick with this theme for any of your lighting upgrades for your headlight. Aaron, you back with us? Okay. Eric, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic, thank you, sir.
I'm trying to work out.
Your headlight, you can.
I'm trying to work out audio with Aaron. We'll keep you guys.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So when you upgrade your headlight, say the complete HID kit as pictured here, you're going to have several different benefits you're going to get from this. Number one, it's going to draw less power or the same power as your stock headlight bulb, but your results are going to be dramatically increased. You can have 10 times the light output of a standard bulb. You're going to have 3 times the output of any halogen bulb that you might have put in. The Kelvin light temperature, this is really unique. I don't have any diagrams of that here, but go ahead and Google Kelvin light temperatures sometime, and you'll see the dramatic differences between, say, a 4,000, 6,000, or 8,000 Kelvin light temperature. The 6,000 is going to be more like the white light that you see on automobiles, and the 8,000 is going to be more of a blue light. These HID kits come in H4, H7, and many of them come in an H9 type of setup. Moving forward, you can update your driving lights or add to them by the addition of driving light bars or fork-mounted. We now have clamps that allow you to put these driving lights just about anywhere. Now, this is one thing that I would really want to specify is the fact that if you take a look at this picture right here on the right, this light bar has some wires that come out the bottom. Now, most light bars come with just the wires. They don't come with a wire harness, if you will. And what the manufacturer expects you to do is to wire this directly into your stock wiring system. So just like anything else, you're going to have a positive wire or power and a ground. Well, that power wire is really supposed to be wired into your high beam or your low beam, and then you come into a problem. When riding with your low beam, you're now going to have driving lights that will be on anytime your motorcycle's on. Well, once you flip your motorcycle to the high beam setting, you're going to lose these driving lights if they're wired that way. Conversely, if you have them wired to the high beam, you're only going to have these lights on when you need your high beam on, and then during the daytime when you're running around with just your standard low beam, you're not going to be functioning. So what we always recommend is if you're going to put any sort of light bar on your motorcycle or auxiliary driving light, a wiring harness such as the one here on the screen is absolutely imperative. Now what you're going to get with a system such as this is you're going to get a switch which will allow you to turn those lights on and off whenever you want to. It's going to be a fused system that plugs directly to your battery, positive, negative. There's going to be a relay to make sure that you can put tons of power on, or tons of light out there on the front of the bike, and that relay is going to be able to handle that power. Okay, go for it. And then you're going to have these that plug directly into the lights on the motorcycle. It's extremely plug and play, super easy to use, and I believe, Aaron, you ready to speak? Okay, for some reason Aaron is not able to speak to us at the moment. But Aaron, anytime that you are ready, go ahead and jump on in here. So these driving light wiring harnesses are absolutely imperative for preventing system overload, giving your lights their own circuit, and overall ease of installation of driving lights. When it comes to taillights, there's once again 3 different options that you can really do. You can swap the bulb out for an LED board, which will dramatically increase the amount of light that you have shining out the back. You can upgrade just your housing, which will then give you a new tail light, but that's not going to modify your turn signals at all whatsoever. And then the complete system upgrades, such as the one here on the right, which is tail light, turn signals, and I believe it's got a run, turn, brake controller all wired in. We then have installation, and this is the biggest question of them all. And that question is going to be, can I do this myself? From experience, lighting and electrical is something that you kind of work into one step at a time. You just go ahead and roll into it. Turn signals are the easiest. Maybe your brake light's super simple as well. But just understanding how things work, how the electronic system works. Now, whenever you do any installation at all whatsoever, it's 100% recommended that you disconnect the negative terminal of your battery. That way, you're not going to get you're not going to get shocked, and the system can't get fried. You're not going to blow fuses. So what you do is you hook everything up, test everything with a test light, and then go ahead and plug that into your battery, and you should be able to see what's going on. For those of you listening, it looks like Aaron might have lost his microphone, so he is looking for it now. He'll be back with us in just a second. So here on the screen we've got a couple things. An owner's manual or some sort of user manual is definitely imperative to doing any work on your motorcycle. It's going to allow you to see exactly what you need to use, any specifications as far as wattages and amperages. The tool there just under the title is a set of wire crimpers that you'll use to attach any of the tools there in the lower, or accessories I guess, in the terminals in the lower right hand corner. And then the tool in the upper right there is a wire stripper, crimper. It does the whole 9 yards. Now when installing electronic devices on your motorcycle, soldering them is 100% the best method, but not always the most accessible method, and that's why I've got the terminal connectors there at the bottom. There's lots of different ways that you can attach wires together. So let's go ahead and there's definitely lots of videos. We've got some YouTube videos showing how things wire together, how handlebar controls wire together, driving lights, turn signals, tail lights, the whole stupid match. Eric, if you're there and willing to pop a poll question tonight, if you could throw this one up for us, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, sir. Getting set right now.
Excellent. So if you were to win tonight's giveaway, which is a $300 shopping spree with Biker's Choice products, would you install the lights yourself? Would you have a friend help you, or would you take it to a local shop? I'm going to go ahead and let you answer that one here real quick. I'm going to guess that the majority of you guys are going to be doing it yourself. We asked the same question, or a similar type question, on our Facebook page earlier this week, and dramatic number of people that were definitely, I'm not letting anybody touch my motorcycle. I'm definitely going to be doing it myself. What do we look like as far as answers go there, Eric? If you could release this one so you can see those answers, that'd be fantastic.
You got it.
Excellent. Once again, 67% of you guys are going to be doing it yourself, 21% will invite a friend, and 12% will take it to a shop. All right, if you could release that, please. Thank you, sir. So, moving right along, we have the top reasons that consumers have been choosing Biker's Choice products since 1971. They've really been the industry leader when it comes to Harley-Davidson and aftermarket accessories, and actually I was unfamiliar that they've been around that long, but quite significant. Unmatched style and design. The instructions are usually great, easy installation. And the one thing that I've noticed over the last several years is definitely the quality that they put into their products. Okay, we're still waiting for Eric to, or it's not Eric, for Aaron to get in here with us. So while we're waiting for Aaron, I'm going to tell you guys about the 24-hour special offer. Now this is going to be any purchase of a Biker's Choice or Bike Master product is going to be eligible to get a free battery charger. So I'm working with Eric at the moment. Okay. So we have the Biker's Choice or Bike Master battery charger there on the left. Now this is going to be very similar to, say, a battery tender, if you know what that is. It's going to plug into your wall, and it's going to monitor your battery. If it's low on charge at all, it's going to put juice to it. And as soon as it gets up there to 12 volts, then it will just level off and be kind of a float mode, if you will. And then as soon as it dips down, it'll go right back in. So in addition to that, if you purchase more than $199, you're going to receive a $30 Cruiser Customizing gift certificate. And all of this you're going to get by using the promotional code BC24. And that's BC24. So moving right along, this is my favorite part of each of these webinars, being able to give away something awesome to those of you who are attending. So tonight, one lucky winner or attendee is going to walk away with a $300 shopping spree. And Eric, I'm going to bring you online so we can facilitate this giveaway.
You got it.
Excellent. What have we got going on here? So Eric has taken all of your names that have come and joined us tonight, and he's put them in a hat, and he's going to choose us a winner.
Let me know when you're ready.
We're ready when you are.
Joe Blair is the winner.
Joe Blair. Hey, Joe, thank you once again for attending with us tonight. It's fantastic. You're the new winner of a $300 shopping spree from Biker's Choice. Eric, is there any way that we can get Joe on the line here?
Hi, Joe. You there?
Wow, thanks, guys.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for
Hello.
joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I love that you guys do these
Awesome.
webinars. I love them.
You just won $300 in Biker's Choice and Bike Master products.
Thank you.
So what kind of lighting do you currently run on your bike?
I've just got the stock OEM lighting on a VTX 1800.
VTX 1800, awesome. And have you looked at driving lights or any sort of auxiliary lights in the past?
Yeah, I have been looking at quite a bit of stuff. I'm looking at auxiliary lights and possibly some accent lighting.
Nice, nice. All right, that's killer. So if you could shoot me an email with your contact information.
Will do.
It's Kyle@cruisercustomizing.com, and shoot me your contact information, and we'll start chatting about what we can get you to fulfill that $300 spending spree. But before we get you off the line here, do you have any questions about lighting, electrical, audio tonight that we can handle for you?
Well, I guess I was kind of getting into, I know with cars and some other things, they've got load restrictions on batteries, and I was curious how much with these different types of systems, how much of a load are you putting on the battery before you need to look at upgrading a battery or getting a second battery added to a system here?
Dude, that is an awesome question. So really, on the motorcycle, it's a little bit different. Pretty much, you can put anything you want to on the motorcycle, and you're not really going to overload the battery per se. What's really going to have an effect, or really going to suffer when you do that, is going to be your stator and your regulator rectifier. So what happens is the stator is what constantly runs with as the RPMs of the motor increase, the stator's spin increases. Therefore, you have more power generated the faster that you go, or the faster the motor spins, I should say. That stator can only, or is only created to pump out a certain amount of power that it then sends to your regulator rectifier. If you overload the system with drawing too much power from the battery per se, by adding crazy amounts of lights and whatever have you to the motorcycle, that stator's not going to be able to create enough power in order to refill the battery. So the biggest upgrade that you can do is actually upgrading the charging system, which would be both the stator and the regular rectifier, which will then generate enough power in order to feed your battery enough juice that it will be able to keep up with everything else that's going on.
And you guys have those on the website, correct?
Yeah, we used to have them through Electrosport. We've got them through Tuckeraki now, which is Biker's Choice and Bike Master.
Okay.
You should be able to find that. The other neat thing you can do is take a look at your owner's manual, and it's going to actually specify the amount of wattage or that your system creates, or the amount of amps, I should say. So you're going to take a look at the requirements that your motorcycle currently has. Take a look at what the current rating is on the stuff you have in there already. And then if you're not going to be putting stuff on over and above that that's going to tax it to the point that it can't keep up, you're probably going to be okay.
Thank you so much.
For example, I ride a VTX 1300, and I've got heated gear, driving lights, auxiliary lights, and speakers, and all of that runs off of the stock system. I've never had an issue with it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was looking at doing speakers, the lights, some accent lighting, and then possibly some heated gear.
Gotcha. Well, killer. Yeah, you shouldn't have any problem with that, so your stock system should be able to handle that. It's really the older motorcycles that really were not built to have all those accessories put onto them. But yeah, we can talk about that a little bit later. But
Okay.
Once again, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the winning. It's pretty fantastic.
Thank you so much. Really excited about it.
Sweet. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, so now we've got question and answer time. So you can either raise your hand, and then Eric will unmute your mic, and you'll be able to speak directly with us. Or you can type your question into the chat box to staff. Then Eric will read through the question and read the question out loud so that we can handle it here. And then if you got a question you don't care to verbalize, you can always email me, Kyle@cruisercustomizing.com, and I'll go ahead and get those questions answered for you as soon as possible.
Hey,
I'm
Kyle,
currently
can
in
you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, awesome. Welcome back, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry we missed you there for a while.
Yeah.
So we
technical difficulties on my end.
It happens. It happens. So we just gave away that $300 shopping spree to Joe Blair. He came on. He rides a VTX 1800, and he's going to be looking at some auxiliary driving lights and possibly some accent lighting as well. So super excited.
Excellent. I was listening to what you guys were talking about. Another note on the charging system and the amperage draw. This is where things like LEDs become really important. An LED uses a lot less than your standard incandescent bulb. So if you're changing your lights, you can actually gain some extra energy that you can put into something like heated gear or speakers or something else.
100%. That's a huge, huge comment. Thank you for that, Aaron.
Yep.
All right, guys. So once again, we're raising our hands or typing questions into the chat box. Both Aaron and myself are going to be available for questions. And if you need to email us, once again, Kyle@cruisercustomizing.com, and we will get those questions handled. So, Eric, are you ready to raise some hands for us or take some hands down?
Yes, sir. So we have a question from Alan Friend. He wants to know if LEDs save power. It seems like the load balancer for turn signals would use any power saved by the LED.
That's a great call. You want to handle that one for us, Aaron?
Yeah, not a problem. The load equalizer isn't actually taking any power away from it. It's working much like the stator and regulator that we talked about earlier. It's only letting a little bit of power through to run those turn signals, so you actually have the extra in reserve if needed.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's basically a placeholder for the bulb. It's just gonna draw enough power so the bike sees it, but it isn't really using that power on a regular basis. Thanks for the question. Who else have we got, Eric?
Okay. We have Jay Bone on the phone. I unlocked his mic. Jay, are you there?
Yes,
Hey, Jay, welcome to the webinar. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jay.
I'm just wondering, I've got an old bike, and it's got running lights, but they've never been hooked up. Do you have to have a relay, or can you hook them directly to the battery, or do you connect them to the fuse box, or what would I do?
Okay, I would totally recommend, Jay. Earlier in the session here, we talked about the wire harness.
Yes.
The wire harness is like $25, and legitimately, it is the best investment you'll ever make when installing driving lights on your motorcycle. You can wire them directly to the battery, but the problem with that is you're going to need some way to have it either switched or fused. For example, if you wire those directly to the battery, they'll always be on. They'll always be draining your battery because you can't turn them off.
Right.
Versus if you could wire them to a 12-volt source. That's possible. So say to a horn or something, and then they'll be on whenever the bike is on. You could wire them to the low beam of your headlight or the high beam of your headlight, but then you run into the issue of whenever that accessory gets turned to the other position, you're going to lose your driving lights.
Right.
So really using that wire harness that will give you a relay, will give you a switch, it'll give you a fuse, it'll give you everything that you need to just plug and play those things. It's really fantastic.
All right. Sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Jay.
Thank you.
Great. We have a question from Jerome Gantz. He installed a Cobra light bar that utilizes stock turn signals. Everything works, but he's getting a quick flash. Is this because of his ground, load, or something else?
Okay, so you said he installed driving lights, and he's getting a quick flash. The quick flash is going to be the turn signals, not the driving lights.
Yeah, is this, excuse me for a second there, Kyle. You said you installed the light bar with the stock turn signals, correct?
That is what he said, correct.
Okay. And with a quick flash, I'd probably look real close at the grounds on that one. And are the driving lights operating the way they're supposed to?
Yeah, he said it's a bar with stock routed directly into the housing.
Yeah, I think I'd start with the grounds. That'd be a good place to start.
So if he's getting a fast flash, the reason he's getting that is the bike, once again, is thinking that there's a bulb burned out somewhere. So if the fast flash is happening up front, I know it's a little bit off base, but number one, check the grounds. But walk around to the back of the bike and make sure that that rear turn signal is actually functioning.
Good call.
But yeah, so check to make sure all the bulbs are functioning correctly and that the grounds are hooked up, and I think that might fix the problem. If not, go ahead and shoot me an email or give me a call, and we can definitely work through it.
Okay, we have David Menifee. I'm unlocking his mic. David, are you there?
Hey, David, welcome to the webinar. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. What can we do for you tonight?
Yeah, I was looking to turn my back turn signals into running lights and brake lights.
Okay.
Is there anything I need to do special, or?
What are you riding?
2009 Honda Shadow Aero 750.
Okay, Aero 750. Yeah. Kuryakin makes what they call a run turn brake controller.
Okay.
It's going to be a piece about the size of the electrical component will be about the size of, say, an Altoids box, and then you'll have tons of wires running out of each side. Actually, if you go to our YouTube channel, have you ever visited our YouTube channel before?
Yes.
I've done the run turn controller. I've done that on both my VTX as well as a V-Star 650. And if you take a look at our YouTube channel and just search that channel for run turn brake, you can see the step-by-step installation there. But it's pretty simple. It basically takes the wiring from the front of the bike, the wiring from the back of the bike, puts it into this unit that then makes everything function appropriately.
Okay, I'll look that up. I think that'd be a good option for my bike, a little safer.
Dude, it makes a huge difference as far as the rear end of the bike.
Yes.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Good thing. You take care.
Thank you.
All right, we have Mitch Silver. I am unmuting him right now. Mitch, are you there?
Hey, Mitch.
Hello,
Welcome to the webinar. Are you there? Okay, let's go ahead and come back to Mitch.
Got it. We have Esther Savard. Esther,
Hi.
are you there?
Yeah, hello. This is Bernie. I'm Esther's husband.
Hey, how's it going, Bernie?
It's going well. About a year and a half ago, we bought 2 sets of headlights. They were a replacement for the bulb in the light compartment.
Okay, what motorcycles are you guys riding?
We have a Suzuki Boulevards C50 and a CT50, and we bought that at the trade show and at the bike show. And basically, it was a light bulb at the end of a harness, and it was very simple to install, just straight through. And it was just a replacement for the bulb inside the compartment for the light.
Okay.
So I did that, and everything was working, high beam, low beam, everything was fine. But after about 150 kilometers, both the bulb died, and they actually burnt. And I could not replace the light bulb unless there was a harness, probably about 6-inch long harness I had to replace the whole unit in order to get a new bulb in there. And so we looked it up on the internet, and I couldn't find anything from what I bought, and I only had a little piece of paper for the installation. but no name, no website or anything like that. And I was wondering if it's just normal that these things would just burn out like that.
It depends on the bulb itself. I know that PIA warranties all of their headlight bulbs for a year.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, it also happens to deal with the number of hours that you run. And it depends on the motorcycle. For example, on my VTX, I get more vibration than I do, say, on the Goldwing. I tend to run through headlights on it much quicker,
Yeah.
even if they have the same amount of run time on the motorcycle. So I don't know. Not knowing the brand of bulb that you got, I don't know that I can.
Yeah, and that's I don't remember that, and I was wondering if you had any like sort of a generic understanding of that.
Yeah, I do know that all bulbs are different, and different manufacturers make them to different tolerance specs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because they were not made for this bike in particular. They were just a generic brand that you can install on any bike, apparently. But that didn't work out. So I guess, yeah, and because it's so. If I was to buy something with your through your website there, what would you recommend for CT50 or C50? Or auxiliary light or headlights or whatever?
Okay. As far as if you, it all depends on really what you want to do. If you want to go with an aftermarket headlight bucket and really change the look of the front of the bike, Biker's Choice and Bike Master have some really great options. If you're looking to just replace the bulb, I would recommend PIA. They do a phenomenal job at headlight bulbs.
Okay. So we could get a, okay, good. Okay, I'll go check that out. And you have that on your website, right? On the bike.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions pertaining to that, just go ahead and shoot me an email, and I'll definitely work with you one-on-one.
Sure, well, thank you very much for your help.
Sure thing. You take care.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Hey, we have a question from Michael Laney. Do you recommend changing out batteries periodically or only when they start having problems?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
I definitely got some answers for that one, but if you want to handle that one first, Aaron, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be fine. If the biggest thing with batteries, you know, if you ride the bike all the time and it stays charged consistently, or you keep it on a tender when you're not riding it, normal battery life is most of the time I see them around 2 years. That's probably a good lifespan for a battery. The other side of that, if you don't have a tender and say the bike sits up all winter and you put it on the charger in the springtime, that's not real good for the batteries either. A battery used in conditions like that will tend to discharge faster. It really depends on how it's been treated in the past. Because another thing to look at, have you ever had over the year or 2 years there, have you had any problems, regulator problems, rectifiers, stators? As a general rule, if you got a battery that's been problem-free for 2 years, you should probably consider looking at a new one.
Yeah, I've had batteries that have legitimately gone 6 years before they actually crapped out and need to be replaced, but that's simply because my bikes are always on the battery tender if they're not being ridden. On the flip side of that, on bikes that I have not treated that way, usually at 2 years, 3 years, and the only problem with not swapping out a battery before it goes bad is the fact that you're usually stuck somewhere when it does go bad.
That's the truth.
So, I mean, if you've got a battery that you've had in the bike for 3 or 4 years, it can't hurt to throw a new battery in there. But if you're on year 4 or year 5, you just know. You know that one day you're going to walk out to the bike, turn the key, and it's not going to start. So it's one of those preventive maintenance things. With a tender, you can definitely get the lifespan of that battery to extend a couple years, but once you get past that point, it's basically like playing roulette.
Yeah. And to touch on the battery chargers again, or battery tenders, probably one of the most important things if you don't ride your bike consistently. I have every bike that's not getting ridden, at least twice a week is plugged into one in my garage, and it's just been, for what they cost nowadays, it's really is cheap insurance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, we have Kenneth Nichols. I'm unmuting his mic.
Hey, Kenneth, welcome to the webinar.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good, good. What can we do for you tonight?
I actually had a couple of questions. I'm thinking about going with LED
Okay.
lights on the front and the back. How would I connect the load equalizer to the, say, the run, turn, brake
Okay.
unit
So
for the rear?
the run, turn, brake controller, if you use a unit from Kuryakin, and what bike are you riding again?
I have a 2006 Vulcan 900 Classic.
Vulcan 900, okay.
Yeah.
So Kuryakin's got a model-specific unit for your Vulcan 900.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is you're going to wire that in. You're going to basically take each of those wire. You're going to plug in each into the run, turn, control unit, and then they're going to have a plug-and-play load equalizer. Actually, the run, turn, control unit will come with a load equalizer.
Oh, right.
And then just kind of piggybacks onto that set of wires.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all plug and play. It's a super, super simple unit.
Great.
Yeah, and the instructions they send with them are great. I mean, it's real easy, simple to follow information.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what is your take on lighting that's not DOT approved? Is that? I'm just curious. I mean, because those are the ones I happen to like.
So I have a personal opinion and I have a professional opinion.
Okay. Let me hear both.
Kyle from Cruiser Customizing would say that it's probably not recommended that you swap out any of your stuff that's DOT for stuff that's not DOT because you could run into a problem with the law.
Okay.
Now, the Kyle working at home in his own garage would say, F that. I want something that's going to perform better than stock, look better than stock, and I have, in my personal experience, now I can't say this for anybody else, in my personal experience, I have never, ever been pulled over for an aftermarket lighting application that has not been as bright or better than stock. Now, if you put on a really thin, super slimline LED that performs half of what your stock system performed at, well, then you can expect to get pulled over and hassled.
Right.
If you're putting on quality stuff that performs as good, if not better than stock, there's almost no reason for you to get pulled over and hassled.
Got it.
Exactly.
So, not recommended because of it's a legal issue, but
Right.
But from personal experience, I've never run into an issue ever. And I've never had a cop, other than if you have a unit on there that obviously is not protective, if it's really small and not working as good as stock. I mean, as long as you're visible and everything works properly, you shouldn't have a problem.
Okay. You also mentioned about the buckets, the headlight bucket.
Correct.
Do they make I want to go with a different look on my front? Would I have to check the mounting first?
Yeah. So for example, on lots of the metric motorcycles, there's usually 2 bolts that go through the triple tree.
Right.
That hold the bracket. On most of the Harley applications that don't have a big nacelle on the front, it's usually 1 bolt in the center that goes down through. So if you're going to put an aftermarket kit on, usually they're built and spec'd for Harley-Davidson applications because that's where the majority of the aftermarket is.
Right.
And you might have to do one of 2 things. Number one, you could drill an extra hole in your triple tree in the center and just use a Harley-style mounting and make that happen. Or you could have a bracket made, which would go from, say, 2 holes into 1 hole and mount to that.
Okay.
Anything to add to that, Aaron?
I'm not 100%. Well, I don't have all of my Tucker-Rocky information in front of me. I just got my Biker's Choice stuff. But I would think that some of the bigger names, Headwinds, the Adjure, some of the bigger guys, even Kuryakin, might have something model specific for that. Other than that, I would think the bracket is probably that he was talking about instead of re-drilling your triple tree. If it's a dual bolt setup, you could probably make something out of a block of aluminum, drill and tap 2 holes in the bottom of it and 1 in the top, and adapt it to work pretty easily.
Okay.
I would take a look first. Kuryakin would probably be a great place to start. Take a look, see if they have something model specific.
Great. I check it out.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Take care.
Got it.
All right.
Who do you have next, Eric?
Oh, we have a question from Patrick Mulligan. What is the difference between LEDs, HIDs, and halogen? Which ones are the brightest?
All right. You want to start with that one, Aaron?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. Halogens are your traditional bolts. Electricity goes through a coil, makes a light. LED, light-emitting diodes are substantially brighter than that, use less energy. They're getting much better at getting a pattern down to get, for a lighting powder in a spot or a fog lamp or even the headlights. The HIDs, a high-intensity discharge lamp, works more like a neon light almost. They are by far the brightest and probably the easiest to convert on most bikes right now. Most of the kits, or a Bike Master kit, for instance, it comes with the bulb, comes with the wiring, a fused harness, the ballast, and all waterproof connectors. So real simple plug-and-play system to improve your lighting.
Yeah, the picture up on the screen right now is a typical HID kit from Bike Master. As you can see, those are all the components that are there. It's super plug and play. A little bit of clarification for you, Patrick. As far as the brightness goes, the brightness that you're going to get from a halogen bulb or an incandescent is all based upon the reflector that's behind the bulb. So those bulbs, they're not, they're bright, but they're not super, super bright. They don't actually transmit or push light out. That's all done by the reflector that's behind it. So as you notice, most of your headlights and turn signals have that wavy texture that's back behind the bulb, and that's really what shoots that light out. When it comes to an LED, they really haven't perfected the way that transmits out. So as bright as that light that lights up is, that's pretty much the brightness that you're going to get. And then the HID that you see here on the screen, that's actually a super, super bright light that's always the same brightness. And then what happens is when you flip that to high beam, there's actually a shield that will open up to allow more of that light to come out rather than less of the light, even though it's the same intensity. It's kind of interesting. So headlights, brightest, definitely HID. The LED stuff is really coming along, and then halogen is basically your tried and true, what we've been using for years.
Okay, we have Kenneth Nichols. I'm unmuting him right now. Ken, are you
Kenneth,
there?
welcome to the webinar.
Hi, how are you? I already asked my questions.
What's that?
I thought I was just there a few minutes ago. I just
Oh,
you
hand
answered my questions already.
Awesome, awesome.
Thanks.
Take care.
I'm muted.
All
Okay.
right.
Sorry about that. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, we have Terry Cameron. Terry, are you there?
Hey, Terry, welcome to the webinar. Terry, come in, Terry.
Okay,
All right.
we'll move on to the next one. Brett. Brett,
Hey, Brett,
Shea, are you
there?
there?
What do we got going on, Eric?
Mitch Silver, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now?
Sound
Yes.
great, Mitch. How's it
Yeah,
going?
much better.
Yeah, thank you. Two questions. First question is, I have a 2012 XL 1200C Harley. Okay. I was thinking of replacing all of the ambers with LEDs. And my impression is, from having listened to this, that I'll need to put some kind of a relay in so that the system understands its LEDs and it doesn't wreak havoc with bad bulb signals.
Yeah, that is 100%. So what's going to happen is, by swapping those out to LEDs, you're going to need to install one of these little buggers right here. It's called a load equalizer.
Okay.
And all that's going to do is draw enough power for your motorcycle to realize that there's something sitting in that socket.
And the directions, I'm sure, will come with it and tell me which wires I have to wire it into.
It's super, super simple. If you see the screen, there's basically 3 wires that come off of any load equalizer.
Okay.
There's 2 of one color and 1 of the other. One is ground, and the other ones go in line to the left and right turn signal, and that's it.
Okay. And I can just tap the harness to get the connection to those wires, and the instructions will indicate that.
Yeah, actually, most of them come with what they call a T-tap. So
Okay.
you actually slide this unit onto the existing wire,
Okay.
and then you slide the end of the load equalizer wire into it and crimp it down, and you're done.
Perfect. Second question.
Yes, sir.
I want to put some kind of a control on the handlebar for multiple accessories. That is either on, off, does Bike Master or one of the products that you guys handle offer that?
I'm unsure about Bike Master and Biker's Choice. Aaron, do you have an answer on that one?
I would have to double check. I know we've got multiple just push switches. It kind of depends on what exactly the accessories are going to be. The switches will either have to be like a click on and off. Those you can get pretty easy. The other option is if it's just a push, like a horn button.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to.
Well, I saw one that I thought you guys had online, but then it said the application was for a series of Hondas. It was a 3-button, and it looked like just click switches, but it was built into one module. I wondered if they made something like that that was more of a universal fit that I could adapt to just a handlebar.
Yeah, here, give me just a second. I'm actually looking it up right now.
Well, that's something that I could email you, Kyle, and you could get back to me on.
Yeah, but there's lots of ways that you can put switches up on the bar. That's absolutely not a problem. I know that we've got some units that actually sit, say, on top of your master cylinder.
Yes.
And then most of those have either 2 or 3 switches. Now, one word of warning: when you install something such as that are going to have multiple switches, say up on a master cylinder or somewhere else on your bar, those switches aren't rated to handle tons of power. So what you're going to want to make sure you do is all of the accessories that you hook to that, make sure there's a relay or a fuse that plugs in there, so you're not going to fry things up.
Okay. Well, it looked like when you showed the fuse panel early on in the webinar, there were a couple of blanks. I'm sure, since my bike is late model, that it'll probably have a couple of blank connections on the fuse panel as well.
Yeah, then what you do is you just run each of those down to the fuse panel, plug each of those 3 things in there, and then you're golden.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, fellas.
Fantastic. Thanks for calling in.
Okay. We have one second, guys. Phil Easton wants to know, what are the main advantages of the LED lighting? He understands that they run cooler and require less maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest advantages are going to be the fact that they're extremely bright. That's probably the biggest advantage. The second advantage will be the fact that they draw less power, meaning you're going to be able to free up extra juice. So the stator produces X amount of power. If you take out several 35-watt or 55-watt bulbs out of that system, you're going to free up that much power that then you can use for other accessories. So power savings and increased light are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. Aaron, have you got anything to add to that one?
Longevity, because they don't use as much power, and it's a diode instead of, you know, your typical, you know, 1157 taillight bulb, or, you know, they are somewhat fragile, especially on a bike that vibrates a lot, or in a place where you ride and the roads aren't as smooth as they could be. You'll tend to go through regular bulbs. LEDs aren't affected by any of that.
Excellent point, for sure. All right, who do you have next, Eric?
Vincent Crawford wants to know, what approach do you take to upgrade the stator and regulator without harming your stock wiring system?
Okay, so stator and regulator rectifier. These are going to be model-specific applications that are just going to pump more juice or create more energy than, say, your stock setup. There's absolutely zero fear of harming your electrical system, because what's going to happen is the stator is going to produce more power. It's then going to go to the regulator rectifier, which can handle the more power that the stator is creating, but it's only going to feed your battery as much as your battery needs. That's about as simple as I can think I can make it. Aaron, you ready? What are your thoughts on that?
You're right on the money with that. Everything when it comes to, you know, if he's talking about his wiring harness, upgraded stators, like you said, being model specific, will have the same plugs on it, plug into the same harness, or plug into your stock harness, and essentially the bike won't know any different. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's really no, you know, as long as you're getting a quality piece and it's made for the model of bike that you have, there should be zero issues.
Tim Snelling wants to know if you offer complete wiring kits for a new in-process custom build.
I know that there are complete wire harnesses out there. I don't believe that we sell any. Do you guys offer any of those?
I have some of the components. As far as, I guess he's asking for like a builder's kit.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like he's asking like a plug-and-play harness.
Yeah, I mean, we've got switches, handlebar harnesses, most of the main stuff, but as far as a replacement or a build-your-own bike harness, no, not currently.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Next.
Michael Rake, he wants to know, he's going to replace his battery, and there's so many choices. Can you recommend a good one?
The True Gel from either Biker's Choice or Takaraki is a great option. It's a steel battery that you can amazing videos that Takaraki's done as far as these batteries go. You can put a nail through it, pull the nail out, and it won't leak. The gel material that's in there holds that power, and it cracked open, it doesn't leak. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could find a gel battery such as that, they're definitely a great option.
Robert Dagley wants to know, changing out stock turn signals front and back. Do you need one load equalizer or two?
Good question. It also depends. It just depends on what you're doing. If you put a 4-amp load equalizer in, Kuryakin has a couple new ones currently that you only need one load equalizer and it handles both tasks. If you use a 2-amp load equalizer, it definitely will not be enough in order to handle both the front and the rear. So it kind of breaks down to a model-specific type application. I know that Kuryakin definitely offers a single load equalizer that does both jobs. The one thing I'd say, Michael, is go ahead and just read the product detail of the different load equalizers, and you'll definitely find one that will handle both the front and the rear. Or if you want to do two separate ones, you can definitely do that as well.
One second, guys. We're replacing the flasher cube with an electronic flasher cube. Do the same function as a load equalizer.
Can you repeat that one again?
No problem. We're replacing the flasher cube with an electronic flasher cube. Do the same function as a load equalizer. He's read on several forums that that's the case.
It depends on okay, here's the thing. It can be done, but it's not as simple as just a plug and play. You would physically have to wire the relay to work. I've seen this done before. The thing with the load equalizers is, for cost and ease of what it does, I mean, it takes 5 minutes to install it, if that, and they're really pretty reasonably priced.
So to piggyback onto that, if you were to do the upgrade by swapping out your flasher cube and changing that, the issue that you might run into would be if that flasher cube goes out in the future, it's no longer an OEM replacement. Now you're looking for whatever flasher cube you've modified the bike to work with now, and can you still get that piece? And it opens up a can of worms that personally, I've never really played with it, but I don't see the benefit in going that route.
Okay, Brett Shea, he wants to know about the heat of an HID bulb with a factory plastic headlight lens.
I don't know. I've run HID in both Yamaha Roadstars and VTXs that both have plastic bucket, or they both had plastic buckets, and I haven't had an issue. Have you experienced any issues with that, Aaron?
I haven't, but I also haven't run them. I personally haven't run any in a plastic housing, only glass.
Okay. So sorry about that, Brett. I don't really have a good answer for you. If you want to shoot me an email, I can go ahead and take a look at some best practices as far as that goes and get some answers back to you.
Robert Ballantine wants to know if it's legal regarding running lights in the rear in California.
Okay. The answer to that question is absolutely yes. It is legal. Now, what would be illegal would be the fact that 99% of the time, the lights in the back of the motorcycle from the factory are amber, and they only function as turn signals. So the bulb or reflector on the back of most bikes is amber, and then the taillight itself is red. That's the running and brake. If you were to change those rear turn signals into running lights, you would have to replace the amber lens or amber bulb with red bulbs in order to make that legal.
Jeffrey Henderson wants to know, never mind, 1 second. Already asked that one. Ken Stewart wants to know if he can I replace my headlight and or running gloves with the HD one, I think. Just replace, or does he need another harness?
Okay, all of the HID lights will come complete with a complete wire harness setup. And we talked about that just a little bit earlier. Let me get there really quick. And Aaron, you want to run us through the different pieces we're seeing here on the screen?
Yeah, what you've got is the biggest part of it is the light ballast, which is the part there that says Bike Master on it. that's the controller basically for the light bulb. Anytime you do a true HID upgrade, the whole kit's going to look like this. It will have a controller, a ballast, and the bulb, and a relay also on it.
Yeah, so an HID bulb, you can't just buy the bulb and throw that in and run it. It requires the ballast and all of it. The amount of power that bulb takes is huge, and it would never, ever work on the stock system. So definitely the whole shooting match is definitely what you're going to want to go with.
Right. 1 second, guys.
Sure thing.
This is Scott Mead. He has a trunk with turn signals and brake light. Is there an adapter to connect them without splicing wires?
A trunk with turn signals and run light?
And brake light.
Talking about like a top case? Okay. Most of the time, they should come with a connector of some sorts. If not, it would be easy enough to, to build a connector. Especially if you were going to take it on and off a bunch, it would be a good idea to, run the wires and make an actual true connector that you could unplug. It would depend on.
You definitely want to make that a quick release connector for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible. You would have to get plugs that mimic your OEM plugs, which can be purchased online from different electronic suppliers. And then what you do is you basically piggyback. You'd piggyback those plugs in, or you would cut off your stock plug, create enough connectors there in order to handle the amount of wires you have coming from the trunk, and just modify that plug to work altogether.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not. It was asking if they come. Do they come pre-wired with a plug, or was it a good idea? I missed the beginning of that.
He basically says, I have a trunk with turn signals and a brake light. Is there an adapter to connect them without splicing wires? That was the question.
Okay, is there an adapter? I don't think there's, not an existing plug-and-play one. You'd probably have to build your own little disconnect harness there.
Okay. Next question. Does reducing the electrical load with LEDs have any positive effect on specifically horsepower?
No. It's a good question. Horsepower has nothing to do with the electronics on the motorcycle per se, other than, say, running your fuel management system, but that has nothing to do with your headlights, taillights, turn signals, or anything of the like.
Okay.
Unless there's some secret sauce you know about it, Aaron, that I don't.
Nope, not out of the electrical system, or I would have stripped all the lights off a long time ago.
Michael Laney, does the extra light from the bulb upgrade cause problems with being too bright or looking like high beams?
Does it?
Yeah, does the extra light bulb from the bulb upgrade cause problems with being too bright or looking like high beams?
Actually, that's a really good question. I was meaning to touch on this. As long as the headlights and driving lights are aimed correctly. I've seen a lot of people out there that'll turn them up so they hit more towards, like, say, the window of an oncoming car, the windshield. Not always the best idea to blind the guy that's coming right at you. Always make sure that your headlights and passing lamps and everything else are aimed correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. If adjusted correctly, it doesn't matter how bright that light is. If it's adjusted correctly, it should not have any effect on oncoming traffic.
Question from Jeffrey Henderson. Will changing the headlight lens and reflector, as well as the bulb, improve the lighting, or are they strictly for show purposes?
You can absolutely increase the effectiveness of your lighting by swapping out your headlight bucket. The key there is choosing an aftermarket bucket and headlight combo setup that performs better than your stock one. I mean, your stock one performs at a certain level. If you choose something that's not quite as good, then you're obviously not going to see as good or better results. So choosing a high quality unit with a particular pattern or throw for the light could definitely increase the amount of light that you're going to see on the road.
We'll go for one bike-specific question. What light bar would you recommend for a Vulcan Nomad?
For a Nomad, I mean, there's legitimately 20 or 30 different standard driving light bars that you could put on your motorcycle if you were going to do that. There's fork-mounted options. There's triple tree-mounted options. I guess it really just depends on what style of auxiliary light you're looking for, Jeffrey. Whether you want it to be really low, for example, on a VTX, I've got them mounted clear down near where the axle of the wheel goes through, and it really puts an awesome pattern out on the road in front of me and can really light up the side of the road. Once again, personal preference. What type of driving light do you want? What look do you want? And then you can take a look at the outputs that those offer. Well, we're reaching the hour-and-a-half point here of this lighting and electrical webinar here with Aaron from Biker's Choice and Kyle Bradshaw from Cruiser Customizing with Eric as our director. We appreciate the fact that you guys joined us today. If you have any questions at all that we didn't answer, please email Kyle at cruisercustomizing.com and I'll make sure I get those handled. I'll be out of the office until Wednesday, but I will get those questions and answers to you by Wednesday or Thursday. Once again, 24-hour special only for those of you who attended the webinar tonight. We've got a Biker's Choice battery charger for any purchase that you make at Cruiser Customizing. Put in the promo code BC24 and you're going to get a free battery charger. It's pretty awesome. If your order happens to be significant, say over $199 or so, you're going to get a $30 gift certificate in addition to that. So that's roughly $65 worth of stuff that you'll be able to get as a thank you for attending with us tonight. Aaron, have you got any final comments you'd like to speak before we wrap this thing up?
No, some great questions from your audience there tonight. It was really been enjoyable.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us, Aaron. We really appreciate you. Eric, have you got anything to add here for us?
No, I think we're all good. I think we ironed everything out and had a lot of good questions, and you guys had a lot of good information. It's good.
Excellent. Thanks again, Aaron, for joining us. We really appreciate your help tonight.
You got it. Thank you, Kyle.
You take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
For the rest of you out there, you guys take care. Have a great week. Ride safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.